I'm Kyoka, the Awkward Black Nomad. I'm a writer, I'm a dog mom, and I travel solo. My channel is for Black women who want to travel more or maybe even live abroad. I talk about my own experiences traveling to 10 countries with my two dogs. And also, I bring other Black women on my channel to talk about their experiences traveling or even living abroad. Today, we have a very special guest and I'm going to bring her up if she's ready. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Hi.
ready. Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you.
Yes, yes.
Everybody,
I've
this
been
is Zanya. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
no, you good, you good.
So this is Zanya, and I always struggle with how to say this. So I'm just going to say it plainly stalking you online. And the reason why is because I found you on YouTube and you make amazing content with your husband. I'm going to put a link to Zanya's YouTube channel in the description of this video and also in the comment section. But y'all went to Japan, y'all been to
Yeah.
Tulum, Malaysia, Romania, Albania, Paris, like all over.
Yeah, yeah. But thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I've been binge watching all your lives and sending them to my mommy, sending them to Darian. So the feelings are mutual. I'm so
Oh
happy
my,
to be here.
thank you. Thank you so much. I I mean you're such an inspiration. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on my channel. It's always iffy when you when you shoot your shot cuz I've been ignored sometimes, a little bit you've been ignored, but but you accepted and you were so warm. Um so let's get into your business a little bit.
Yes, yes. I was about
So
to say it's so funny because when you sent me that DM, I was just about to email you too. After that last live I caught. Yeah. So it's like timing, timing.
it's kismet. It's 100% like meant to be.
Yes.
I see y'all in the comment section. Hey, locating cozy. Hi,
Happy Sunday.
Blair. Happy Sunday. Hi, Xavier. This is my sister Xavier.
Hey
Xavier, ask a
Xavier.
question during the live. Don't just be here and watch and not participate. Okay, this is my sister. Hi, everybody. If you're coming into the room, please like the video. Please also drop down in the comment section. Say hi to us. Okay, if you have a question for Zanya, please put a Q in front of your question and we'll answer it during the live. Okay,
Yeah.
so when did your travel journey begin?
Full time travel, it started in 2020 during COVID, but I'd say we started like traveling here and there. Okay, let me give you a backstory. Because when you're from the Bahamas, usually a lot of people bring in things from Florida because it's like a 30-minute flight. So it's pretty common for Bahamians to fly to Florida for like a weekend trip. Some people would fly for a day, do their shopping, and come back. So we've always been like back and forth from the States. And then we moved to Canada. And once we moved to Canada, that's when we started to like travel to other places. So we went to Mexico. And it really started for us in Italy. I think that was in 2019. When we came back from that trip, we were like, all right, we got to do this full time. We have to figure out how we'll do this. So the minute we got back to Canada, we started paying off debt, started saving because we were like, okay, next year we doing this. So that's how it started for us. But we didn't leave until July 2020.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
because at that point, everybody. So were you still in the Bahamas in 2020? Or were you
So
in
we were still in Canada in 2020, and then we came to the Bahamas to bring basically all our sentimental stuff that we kept once
Mm,
we left Canada. And we were thinking like, because I still had my online accounting job in Canada, so we were thinking, okay, maybe we'll just go home and like work for a little bit online until we could figure out when we'll start traveling. But when we came, it was like the lockdown had just started, and it was a shock because when we left Canada, it was still normal. Like
mm.
there weren't any masking yet. I think only Costco made people wear masks, but outside of that, it was like normal. Like they knew COVID was coming, but it wasn't really there yet. And then we came here, it's like okay, quarantine. lockdown on the weekends, curfew. So because of that, and then we had like a few hurricanes that were coming, a lot of people were working from home and the electric grid couldn't take it. So the power would be out for hours in a day. And I'm like, okay, I'm about to lose my job if I stay here. And that's how we ended up in Mexico because we were like, we need to find somewhere where we could just chill and work during the pandemic
Mhm.
and have like stable Wi-Fi, stable electricity. And that's how we ended up in Tulum.
Okay. Um, your husband is in the chat. He
Oh,
said,
he's supposed to be the work. You the work and you corrected me, sir. Hey, hey.
"Hey,
Yes, we
so
came to the Bahamas in July and left for Mexico in August. Yes, thank you.
but okay, so I mean, in 2020 there were a lot of things going on. I feel like that summer was probably like the quarantine was full effect,
Hmm.
totally different environment. What was Mexico like at that time?
It was so different because remember, Mexico never closed. They never closed and they never put travel restrictions. So you didn't need a test and you didn't need a test and you didn't need a vaccine. So what was really good about Tulum at the time, because Tulum isn't technically Mexico. It's more like a private town that was built mainly by um, not Australians, was then Argentinians. So a few years ago, Tulum was just a jungle, and foreigners came in and built up the town. So because of that, even though that whole basically state had quarantine, Tulum had their own rules.
I see.
So it turned into one big expat community. Of course, they still had the party side. So the beach was the party side, and then in town was more like one big expat community. A lot of co-working spaces, a lot of people working at cafes. So it just was like everybody living normal everyday life. Like the apartment that we stayed at in Tulum, the whole place were just expats staying there for months at a time, trying to figure out what's going on with with everything with the pandemic. Yeah. So Tulum was more like a safe space to just live everyday life, work, and that was about it.
keep
But it
looking
was
at it.
nice.
Hi, Darian. Nice to meet you. Maybe we'll bring you back on the show. You can come too. You'll be the only man that's ever been on the channel. You're welcome.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Katrina. Katrina is in Malaysia right now.
Nice. I love Malaysia.
Yeah, you've been to
Yes.
Malaysia. Okay, we're gonna get into all of that. Sorry.
Yes.
So in 2019, you guys went to Italy. You realized like, okay, we want to make travel a part of our lives, not necessarily live abroad, or was it? Did you already have that knowledge that you wanted to live in another country?
I think growing up, I know I didn't want to live here because it was always so expensive and it just kept getting more and more expensive. So the cost of living is way too high for the income. So, for example, some things here are three times or four times the price it is in the US because the companies have to go to the States, purchase the stuff, ship it over, and then they have to pay taxes to the government on those items. So already, if they want to make a profit, it has to be three or four times more. So, and then I think the minimum wage is $6. Any Bahamian I could correct me. I think the minimum wage is $6 an hour. So it was always too expensive for me. So growing up, I always knew I wanted to live somewhere. I just thought I couldn't do full time travel because back then I didn't see anyone who looked like me doing full time travel. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll have to teach English in South Korea or something. Like that was trending at that time. So while I was still here in the Bahamas, I just was trying to find ways like, how can I travel in any capacity? Like, do I have to live somewhere? You know? So I feel like going to school in Canada, I had the idea that I was going to live in Canada forever, but I don't know, I just wanted more. And I started watching a lot of travel blogs. So I'm like, this is something I wanted to do since I was a kid, but I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. And once I figured out how to make it happen, that was it.
But you know what? You said something and it's so amazing. You didn't see anybody who looked like you who was traveling the world. And now you
Yeah.
are the person that other women are looking at. Young girls are looking at and saying, I want to be like Zanya.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it a little bit, but you said that you guys were paying off debt with the intention of living abroad. What
Hmm.
kind of setup did that look like? What did that look like? Like, did you have already a goal in mind of how much money you needed to live off of? Were you always planning to work and travel at the same time?
So, and it's so funny because I had a sticky note on my computer to work. And I'm like, okay, when I hit this amount, we out of here.
Listen, that's the energy. First of all, that's the energy, okay?
So we had some credit card debt, but it wasn't that much. It was mainly like dental bills. That was because we were never big consumers,
Mm,
especially because even when we were in Canada, when we were under the impression that we were going to stay in Canada forever, we didn't want to stay in that province. We thought like probably in a year or two we would move to like Ottawa or Toronto or something. So we were trying to not accumulate stuff if we knew we would have to move anyway. So that's one thing. And then we weren't big consumers anyway. So most of our debt was like most of it was dental for me. So it didn't take that long to pay it off. So I'd say the debt was the easiest part to pay off because we didn't have much. And then schooling in Canada is so affordable, so we didn't have student loans. So the main thing, what was the amount? I think I put 15,000, and that was Canadian. That wasn't even US. Let me see how much that was. But back then it was different because my friend at the time was doing full time travel. Let me
mm.
see, 15,000 Canadian to USD. That's like $10,000.
What?
But back then it was different because, like I said, my friend, she was already a travel YouTuber. And back then you could like live in Bali for like $500 a month, like $600 a month. That's what Southeast Asia prices were. So our intention was, okay, we'll get to 10,000 and then we'll go to Southeast Asia and we'll just figure something out while we live off of that money. We were hoping it would buy us like a year. But then COVID happened and Southeast Asia was closed. So we had to compromise and figure something else out. And that's why I worked longer in Mexico because I wasn't going to work that long. I think I stayed with my job until October, and that's when we went to Turkey.
Mm.
So
Turkey
I think my,
first?
my number was, yeah, my number was 15,000 Canadian, which is 10,000 US. So not much at all, honestly.
So
But
your
back then, that could go pretty far in Southeast Asia.
so your job was it already fully remote or was it because of COVID they transitioned you guys to remote?
It was because of COVID, but it was easier for me because I was the only person in the accounting department in Canada. So the rest of my team was in the States. So I was already in a different location from them, So it
Oh,
was easier to negotiate with them to stay online longer. But yeah, I knew the minute they were like forcing people to come in the office, that would have been it for me.
you were like,
Child.
but did you have to so like because the rest of your team was already in the US, there would have never been a time where they would have made you come into the office unless there was like a Canadian division.
No,
But
we had a Canadian office, but I just was the only one on that team who was in Canada. Everyone else was in the States.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you
So I still was technically a part of the Canadian office, even though I was on the US team.
Oh, did you have to tell them that you were in Mexico or was it just kind of like they didn't care anyway?
I didn't have to, but I told them. Okay, I can tell you what. If I felt like they would have said no, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But because I knew at the time like they were kind of desperate and needed me for as long as they could have me for, I was like, I had already convinced them that I was going to work from home, like in Nassau. So I just told them Mexico, like, hey, when I was in Nassau, the power wasn't working, so I had to go to Mexico, and They just were like, okay, because like I said, they were in the U.S. anyway, and I was always in Canada by myself. So my team in particular were like, okay, you know. But I told them I was leaving because I was thinking about making it a full, like a fully remote thing.
Okay.
So
I
I just was kind of like giving them little nuggets to see where their head was at. But I knew eventually the Canadian office would want me back. So
mm,
when I realized, like, okay, my team is accepting of it, but eventually the Canadian office will try to get me back. I think they're trying to do like 2 days a week or something like that. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'll just have to stick to my initial plan, which was fine because I don't know. Like Darian said, I keep on saying I would have stayed with my job, but I don't know how I would have made it when I went to Turkey and the time difference. I don't
mm,
know how that would work out in the beginning. I wasn't mentally prepared for that because that was never the plan.
mhm.
But yeah, it worked out though. I'd say that money lasted us, even though we couldn't get to Southeast Asia, our savings probably lasted us a year. And then that was Turkey, um, Romania, Albania, and Mexico. I think that was it for the first year. And then Canada was giving out stimulus checks, so we were like, "Wow, how perfect that we were in Canada." And their stimulus checks were like, man, I don't even remember. Was it like first they were giving you 1,000 every 2 weeks or something like that, but then you had to pay taxes on it. And when people started making noise about it, they were like, okay, we'll just give you all 900 and you don't have to pay taxes on it, something like that. So it just worked out to where when our savings ran out, that's when the stimulus checks kicked in, mainly for Darian's job because he was working in the kitchen. So yeah, I can't remember exactly how it worked out in terms of timing, but yeah, certain jobs at that time, like his kitchen job, because Darren is a chef, they still weren't allowed to work in a restaurant or something like that. It ended up working out. So we're like, at least we could get some of those taxes back because those taxes in Canada were insane. They were really high. That's what made us leave because the income taxes were crazy. And coming from a country where we don't have income taxes at all to a country with extreme income taxes, it was like, yeah. So like at least we get something back considering we won't be here anymore, you know?
Even like for me, like Louisiana has income taxes, but Texas doesn't. And I would have so much money in my paycheck afterward. I was like, wait a second, this is
Yeah.
where my money was going?
Yep.
What? That's
Wait,
crazy.
wait, where are you now?
Huh?
Where are you now?
Oh, I'm in Texas
Oh,
right now.
okay. I don't know. I thought you was in Louisiana.
No, I want to go back, but again, the income taxes.
Oh yeah.
So the
Child, don't
politics are about the same, but
yeah. Save your money, child.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
blame you.
so that first year, I'm just shocked. First of all, I'm shocked. Two people lived off of essentially $10,000 for a
Yeah.
year. Did that include the cost of traveling?
Yeah. But you have to remember too, this was during COVID. So those COVID prices were low.
No, you could probably get a real good flight.
Our tickets were like $200 from Miami to Turkey was like $200 and we had a layover in Spain. It was crazy. It was crazy low. Airbnb was crazy low because this was still like at the beginning when nobody was really traveling like that. But for us, we felt comfortable because we were like, we really only come into work and live everyday life, go to the grocery store. We ain't trying to do the most.
Yeah.
So for us, it was like, it's the same as if we were to stay home and do it or stay in Canada and do it. We still living the same everyday life. So that's how our money stretched, and that was good because, like I said, we were saving for Southeast Asia, and it couldn't happen because it was closed. So thankfully, the COVID prices still made it happen.
So then after, not Turkey, you said Romania and then Albania. So
Yeah.
after that, where did you guys end up going? You were like, okay, we ran out of money. We got a little bit of the stimmy left over. Uh,
hmm
head back home and regroup.
I'd say when we were in Turkey, or was it Romania? when we were in Romania, that's when like we were on the last of our savings. Stimulus had already stopped, I think. So we were like, okay, we we I was like, okay, we gotta figure it out now. So
Look, I've
we
been
ended up
there.
getting right. We ended up getting like the last cheap flight that was, during the pandemic. The last cheap flight, we got it to Mexico. I think we flew into Mexico City, and then we went back to Tulum in that apartment where I said we were at first. I think at the time we were paying probably $600. I think I even have a video on YouTube doing a tour of that apartment. I think it was like $600 a month. So I was like, let's just go there and like figure it out. And then when we couldn't figure it out, so we were like signing up to do, I think it was called iTalki at the time, where you would teach English. It wasn't a regular setup where you teach English to kids. It was like you'd also teach it to adults. So it was similar to one of those. There was a lot of those English teaching online jobs that were going around at the time. It didn't work out for us. Um, and this is probably another thing I'll mention. It's so different traveling as a Bahamian as it would be as a US citizen because there's so much stuff that don't work out for us because we don't have a social security number, like we don't have the same access. So we went to Mexico and we were like, okay, we'll just start teaching English or whatever and go from there. But when that didn't work out, we came home and started to like strategize our next step. So after Mexico, we came back home and we were here for 5 months. And at that time, Darian was working on yachts as a private chef, and I was working same in my graphic and web design business. But the main thing was I was always doing graphic and web design on the side, but because of the pandemic, like things had slowed down, and I didn't get my first like long term retainer client until we were home for that 5 months. And once I got that client, I'm like, oh, we have enough money. We out.
I love it.
Listen, the minute we have just enough money and a little extra, to like, we were out. Like, once I knew that was on a monthly basis, and I think at the time it wasn't even much. It was probably like, okay, I'll make $600 or $700 a month. But we are really good at always finding somewhere to make our money work. So I think we went to the Philippines. Thank God, Southeast Asia opened at the time. So we went to the Philippines, and that was when we first went to Malaysia. So yeah, and I
What was
think I was
your
probably yeah,
what was your monthly expenses when you first went to Malaysia?
I'd say it was probably like exactly that because we always had just enough money.
Hmm.
And keep in mind, this isn't like on a strict budget. We always stayed in a comfortable Airbnb. We like to cook, but we still ate out when we wanted to eat out. But it's just that the cost of living is so affordable, you know? Now, the cost of living is still affordable, but now accommodation is really high compared to what it was. So because accommodation was so low, once you paid that rent, you could get like food for $1 or $2. Transportation was really affordable and still is. So I feel like back then we had just enough to pay for everything and to pay for the next flight
Mm.
to the next place. So that's what we did. So I feel like during that season when we weren't making that much money, we got really creative and found places that were pretty affordable. So that's when we went to I think Cambodia for the first time, and our rent there was like $200 a month. So yeah, but we went last year to Cambodia, and our rent was still $200 a month.
And these are
There's still some,
Airbnbs?
yeah, these are Airbnbs. There's still places that are really affordable. So that makes it a lot more comfortable because if you get in a situation there's somewhere you could go if you don't have that much money. So that's what it is for us. If we're in Southeast Asia or if we're in Europe, we have places that, okay, if our money running low or something happens, we know we could go to these places and get probably like a month for $200 to $400 while we figure it out.
Well, drop the names. Drop.
Okay. So Southeast Asia, you have Cambodia, you have Vietnam, of course. I heard about Thailand, but because it was so hard for us to get a visa after the pandemic,
Mhm.
we haven't been to Thailand yet. But now, as of 2025, I'd say the last two places for sure are Vietnam and Cambodia. And I could see it being that way for a while, especially in Siem Reap. That's where we usually go in Cambodia. That's where Angkor Wat is. There are a lot of places, and the price is still the same as it was during the pandemic.
Okay.
People usually only come for like 3 days and then they leave, you know? So those are like the safe spots when you're in that area and like your cash flow is a little off, or like, you have some money coming, but you have to wait a little bit, or you went to somewhere expensive and now you need to go to somewhere affordable to kind of balance it off.
Mhm.
So those are the two places there. In Europe, I'd say North Macedonia has been our place when,
Ooh,
yeah.
almost went to Macedonia.
Yeah. So for us, that's like a safe space when we're in Europe and the money looking a little dicey. So let me see. For this side, I don't know. We haven't been like on this side for a long period of time in a while. We're mainly in Southeast Asia or in Europe.
Mm,
So I honestly don't even know because now even Mexico could be pretty expensive post pandemic. So we just have those two, well, three safe spaces in those two regions for now.
yeah. I mean, I
Just
know
fine. Hmm.
like when you're when you're long-term traveling, because you don't have residency in a place, or because you're not on like a long-term visa, you are
Hmm.
probably only gonna stay in a place at max 3 months. At least that's how it is,
Yeah,
like with the US passport. Like most places it's 90 days, right?
it's the
So
same for us. Yeah,
it's like an Airbnb for 90 days could run you like $1,300 a month, like rent, like rent back in the U.S. Depending on where you are, you know.
yeah.
So to hear that there are places where you can get an Airbnb for like under $500,
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think in North Macedonia, our rent is like around 400 a month. And again, like you get a plate of food for $2. We usually walk everywhere, but you could get bus or taxi. So you can make your money work. And I feel like that's what stops a lot of people from traveling because they feel like they have to have it all figured out for the whole, like if they know they're about to travel for a year, they feel like they need to have it all figured out for a year. But it's best to have like a backup plan in case anything could go wrong, like especially now people wiping your accounts. Imagine you have it all planned out and all saved and something happens and it's good to have somewhere that you could rely on to say, okay, if something happens, we could always get a cheap flight to this place while we work on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but we usually stay in each place for 3 months. I'd say 3 months, except Malaysia, because they only give Bahamians 1 month. But outside of that, usually we could get the same as people from the US, 3 months. Mexico, I think, is 6 months.
Yeah, same for us.
We don't have that Albania 1 year thing though. I
Oh,
would. That would have been good to fall back on.
yeah, because like when you let me tell you the master plan. The master plan is you go to Albania, you stay in Albania, you tell the people that you're gonna be there for a year,
Hmm.
you get yourself a little, $400 apartment a month in Albania.
Exactly.
You bounce around Europe. That's the plan. I didn't know
Exactly.
that was the plan until I got there, but that was always the plan. Okay,
Hmm.
that's a perfect setup right there.
Yeah, I think we get 3 months in Albania, and I feel like we could make that work because even if we tell them we're there for a year, but we only have 3 months, I'm sure we'll be somewhere else for that 3 months. Or if we could just catch a bus to Greece or Macedonia like we did before. So that's still the plan, high key.
Yeah, high key, that's still a plan. And I don't know if she's still here, but I had Blair, who is in Serbia, and
Yeah.
Serbia
Oh, I
might
forgot we
also
went to Serbia too. I forgot that.
you went to Serbia too.
Yeah, when we were in Turkey.
Mhm.
So when we got to Turkey, they just did like restrictions. So you couldn't eat in restaurants, and then they had a curfew. So, and then there were rumors that Turkey was going to close. Wait, am I frozen?
A
Y'all can
little.
see me still?
It got a little blurry, but it's okay.
Oh,
I hear you still.
yeah, girl. Okay.
You're
Wait, is
not.
my VPN on?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, I'll keep going then. There were rumors that Turkey was going to close their borders. So we left, and the closest and cheapest place to go to was Serbia. So that's how we ended up in Serbia.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then
But yeah, I watched that live too.
when you're looking for places, so like as a when you were a novice traveler and you were like, okay, we
Hmm.
need somewhere affordable and close by. Like let's say you're in Turkey and you're like trying to find a place. How did you begin that search? How did you find a place that would fit your criteria?
Back then, Skyscanner was a lot more reliable, but now they be showing you prices that don't exist. So now I'd say, girl, they'd be like, oh, it's 150 to go here. And then when you actually click it to like buy the ticket, they'll be like, oh, it's $600. So yeah, yeah. So now it's Google Flights.
Mm.
But back then we did, especially because we were trying to get out as soon as possible. We just looked at the cheapest place to fly to, which was Serbia, and then we looked at how much the Airbnb would cost.
Mm.
Honestly, I feel like these days the cost of accommodation is way more important than the flight because the accommodation prices these days crazy.
Have you guys
So now I would what I would do now is the opposite. I would like look at who has affordable accommodation and then try to find the cheapest flight you could find there.
okay? Have y'all looked into like house sitting?
We have, but this is during the pandemic, so it was a little different. Like people would have listings, but they weren't actually looking for people. Or what we realized happened, especially around Christmas time, everyone would be desperate for someone to house sit. So we did house sit and we did work away. We never got lucky with house sitting, but we did a few workaways just to see, how it would be to use as a resort, a
What
way to get like cheaper accommodation.
what kind of workaway jobs have you had?
One was in Serbia actually. It was at a hostel. So when we first landed in Serbia, did we? I think we started with workaway, and then after that was done, we got an Airbnb. So it was a hostel. Oh, we did a really good workaway in Romania too. We stayed with this family and helped them with their kids in Zanya. It was so nice. That's like where a popular castle is. That was really nice. It's like kind of in the mountains a little bit. That was a really good experience. But they were the only two workaways we did.
That's
I don't
good.
know. I'm an introvert, so like,
I also feel that way about like staying with people.
yeah, like with workaway, you definitely have to either stay in a dorm or stay with a family. And sometimes I just need a no talking day, you know?
Yeah.
So after a while, we were like, okay, these are options if we need them. But thankfully, we never needed to use it again. But I wish house sitting worked out for us. But I also felt like it wouldn't be fair because we aren't big pet people. And I'm like, I don't want someone trusting us with their dog or cat. And
Oh,
we really ain't like big pet people. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't gonna do nothing bad to your pets, but at the same time, we're not like in love with pets.
yeah.
So I feel like after a while, it's like, okay, maybe someone who actually in love would be a better fit.
That's fair.
You know? Yeah. Like
That's
we could follow instructions and we could love on your pets, but I feel like someone who more passionate about it would be better.
yeah.
You know,
There is
as
like
opposed to like us who just trying to stay somewhere nice for free. You know?
it's like that. Like she's like, I'll watch your dogs, but they can't touch me. Like I'll feed them, but
Like I could
I
pet them and stuff. I could take them on walks, but I don't know. Who
oh,
knows? Maybe I may have fallen in love with pets after doing a house sit. Who knows? But we never really had pets growing up, so we don't even know.
I mean, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I think there are
Yeah.
some where like There, I've seen some house sits where people just want you to take care of their plants, or
Oh
they
yeah.
like don't want an empty house for that long,
Mhm.
so they'll just have
Yeah.
people stay. But like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I just
And
asked.
back then, like people had goats and horses and stuff for you to watch.
Okay.
Girl, I don't know what to do with no horse. So,
I
and
like
then
the
too,
aesthetic of a horse. I don't actually like horses.
yeah, and then at the time too, a lot of the house sitting in the areas we were looking at, they were like so far away from the city. It was like you almost need a car to get there, and you need like it's a small little town in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know. It just wasn't working out. It wasn't working out for us.
That's fair.
But we really wanted to try it because we wanted to give other people resources to make, travel more affordable. Because for other people, that may be the best thing for them.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Workaway worked out for us, and house sitting didn't work out. But you could find some really nice places doing house sitting if it's your thing, for sure.
What What was your family's uh what thoughts did your family have on you traveling?
I felt like it was easier for them because we were already in Canada, you
Mhm.
know? And then, two, they got to see us more often. Because when we were in Canada, we had probably 2, 3 weeks vacation. So we're like, either we going on a vacation somewhere else this year or we going home this year. So sometimes our family would see us like once every 2 years, once every 3 years, depending. But when we started traveling full time, we on our own time now. So if we want to come every year and stay for 3 months, they see more of us now that we travel versus when we lived in Canada.
Mhm.
So it was an
And,
easy transition for them.
and you're back home now. Like, is it for I don't know how I don't remember. I don't think you told me how long you guys are back in the Bahamas. But like, is
We
it
usually come for the holidays.
yeah, yeah.
And when we come, we usually come for like 3 months because it's so expensive to get tickets here and from here. So we try to stay longer to spend time with family and to make those tickets, worth the time. Because if we spend in 1,500 to get here and 1,500 to leave, 2 weeks don't really make no sense. You
When I
know.
say I would never see my family, it would
Listen,
cost so much.
I think the issue is we always too far. Like this last time we were in Japan, so we had to fly from there. And then the time before that, I think we were in Macedonia. Yeah. So, but yeah, we usually come here for the holidays. But I feel like next Christmas season, we will spend it somewhere else because we spent Christmas in Turkey that first year, and that was so nice.
Really?
Yeah. Christmas outside hits different though.
I know because, but I also don't mind like a winter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the the Christmas markets like in England,
Mm-hmm.
and like the snow and the it just it feels like
Yeah.
a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
How was it
Like we
in
definitely
Turkey?
want to do that. Turkey was good, surprisingly, because they don't really have like Christmas is in a holiday there, but it still is festive.
Like the light,
So
like do they do?
yeah, and like everywhere's decorated. I think Christmas Day we went out to eat somewhere with our friend who the YouTuber who I was telling you about. She's from Thailand. She was there at the time too. I think we went out to eat in this in this illegal restaurant. The restaurant isn't illegal, but at the time you couldn't eat in. You only could take out. But there was this one restaurant who had like this hidden dine in section. So everyone knew like if you really wanted to or needed to eat somewhere, then we went there for Christmas. So that was good. Um yeah, it was really good, honestly. We couldn't find decorations for ourselves, like to decorate the apartment, but everywhere was decorated. So considering it's not even a holiday there, because a lot of them are Muslims, it still
Mm.
was really good. So I could only imagine in places that like the Philippines and Japan who they love Christmas. I can only imagine. And then like you say in Europe with the Christmas markets and stuff, you
Yeah,
definitely want to experience that.
I've seen some pictures of people in South Korea. Like they do it big for Christmas.
Mhm. They love it.
Um, so then let's talk about some of the countries you've been to. Where would you
Hmm.
say you've had the best dining experience? Where's the best food?
Turkey was really good. Malaysia was really good. I'd say it's tie between Malaysia and Japan, honestly.
Japan? I've never heard that.
Mm, yeah, it's really good.
I've heard, so I want to talk about Japan. I'll tell
Hmm.
you what I've heard. I've heard the food in Japan is not good because it's like sweet
That's
when you eat.
Korea.
Is that
That's South
Korea?
Korea. Yeah. They add, I heard they add sugar to everything. Like if you get a
Yeah.
creamy pasta dish, it'll be sweet. If you get pizza, it'll be sweet. Yeah, that's definitely South Korea.
I don't want that.
But Japan, they've eaten fried chicken. Um, what else? Because from what I heard, the locals they cook home a lot of eat like the little food from the convenience stores or from the food stores, which I call
Mhm.
it grocery stores. They sell like plates of food for people to buy, and it's pretty affordable too. And the food is decent. So because they eat like healthy every day, when they do go out to eat, they want like what we'd consider junk food. So a lot of the restaurants still do like fried chicken. So
It's really good. It's like really good fried chicken. Like,
yeah.
what's the best thing you've eaten there?
Oh, ramen for sure. Is this spot that we found? At least our friends told us about it because they went to Japan, I think the year before us. Is this place that does like chicken based ramen?
So like the
So
broth
good.
chicken
Yeah, it's called
broth.
Ramen Tendo. It's in Osaka. So good. To me, it doesn't taste like chicken broth or anything, but it just the taste is way different than any other ramen we had there. But I don't
Allegedly,
know.
you're supposed
Let me
to
see.
have.
Best food. Yeah, we really like the food in Japan, but for sure Malaysia.
Mm,
I think Malaysia may be a little bit higher than Japan, but Malaysia and Japan, and we love the food in Turkey too. That was nice. But we big on food, so
right.
like,
Darian is a chef.
yeah, if we don't have good food options, you're ready to go.
But also, like, okay, so you guys have been in a lot of places that don't have very diverse populations. How
Hmm.
were you received as Black travelers?
We haven't had any issues actually. I'd say even in places like Japan, but maybe it's because of the timing. Like Japan at this point, they're so used to tourists.
Mm,
Probably if this was like pre-COVID, maybe our experience would have been different. But now, people traveling, people traveling, and black
people,
people traveling, which I
black
love to
people
see.
outside. Black people outside.
Yeah, black people traveling, love to see it. So I feel like now it's more like I feel like they're just used to seeing us now.
So you've never
Like
had.
the videos what I saw before COVID. Wait, am I sent it? Okay, the videos I saw like before COVID where people would be in awe when they saw a black person and don't know how to act. Like now they just like okay.
And you never had.
Especially Southeast Asia, especially Southeast Asia. I'd say more so Macedonia. They were more like surprised to see us, but they don't say or they don't say nothing. It's mainly like the restaurants that we went to frequently. They would ask questions like where you from, and we don't really see y'all here like that basically. But
Uh,
after they say that and figure out where you from, they're like over it. Like when you come, it's just like they treat you just like the locals.
yeah. I think I always feel like it's like curiosity so much
Hmm.
more than like people not wanting you to be somewhere. It's just like, why are you here? Like
Yeah.
people would be like, why? Why did you come here? At least when I was in Albania, so many people were like, why did you come to Albania of all the places in the world?
Yeah, we got that in Macedonia too, though. I forgot a guy.
Yeah.
I think it was an older guy, and he was like, "Why you come here?"
It's like,
He basically was like, "You from the Bahamas? Why you come here? Like you should be going there."
right.
And I had to explain to him, like, It's the experience is just different. Like for y'all, the Bahamas is like a vacation spot, but for us, like Bahamas is just home. Like I can't tell you the last time I went to the beach. Even when I lived here full time, being a local somewhere versus being a tourist somewhere, straight across the board, is a
Mm,
different experience, you know? So I had
definitely.
to convince him that no, Macedonia is beautiful, you know? Because to him, he like, ugh, that was literally his reaction. Like, why would you come here? But yeah,
Have you ever had an experience where you felt like unsafe? Where like, oh, we got to get up out of here because this is sketchy.
let me think. Let me think real good. No, I don't think we've ever had that experience. We have had like gut feelings where we're like, okay, it's time to go somewhere else.
Mm,
Like, let's say we're in a place for a month or 2 months. Like, we'd have the urge that, okay, we need to leave now, type of thing. Or like, we shouldn't extend this Airbnb. We need to like go somewhere else. We've had that urge, but not like, okay, in this exact moment, we feel unsafe
mm.
or I feel unsafe. And I can speak for myself too, because, in some countries, it's normal for me to be out 2 o'clock in the morning or something if I have to go get something from the store. Like, that's normal. Like, I would
Oh,
never do that
no,
here.
no,
I
no.
would never do that here.
Why
But,
you
like,
where you be going?
well, you say, where are we going? Like, at 2 in the morning?
Why you going at 2 in the morning? What you got going on? Huh?
It was a time when we were like night owls. So, even in
Oh,
Macedonia, I would say sometimes we'd wake up 5 o'clock, go to the gym, go to the restaurant,
no
and
discipline.
just start working. I think it's because we also needed to be like on EST a little bit
Mm,
with clients. So at some points of our travel journey, we were more night owls where we would sleep in a day and be up in the night if it's like busy. But yeah, so like sometimes I may need to go to the store for something because Darian cooking and we need something. But yeah, it's just different. Like the stuff I would do elsewhere, I would never do here.
because you feel
Or in the
safer.
States. Yeah, exactly. And then it's normal for them too. Like in Japan, for example, let's say we up and I want to go to the convenience store. If I go outside 2 or 3 in the morning, there are other people outside. It's not empty. So it's like the norm.
Mm,
Whereas like here, everything shuts down at 8. So really, especially on a weekday, if you go outside, you're outside by yourself.
yeah. And
So I think
danger.
it's
It's
more so
you
that
in danger
you in danger,
outside.
girl.
You in danger, girl.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a cultural thing. You just happen to be in certain places where it's normal for people to be outside all hours of the night, and it's normal. They just either going for a walk or like it's not like nightlife or they going to the club. It's just like normal everyday life for them. So
Yeah.
no, thankfully we haven't had any experiences where we felt unsafe. But for us, it wouldn't take nothing for us to be out of there. Honestly, out of there.
Has there been anything that you've learned that surprised you, like in any country that you've been to? Like, wow, I didn't know people thought like this or did this.
Let me think. Surprise us? I don't know. I think I was more surprised at how calm people are when they saw us. Because, like I said before pandemic, it was different. People weren't really outside like that, especially black travelers. So there was that shock value that people would get when they see a black traveler.
Mm,
So to see like we would go certain places that we would expect people to not see much black people, and they'd just be like normal. I felt like that was shocking, but in a good way.
mm.
In a good way. What about you?
What about me? I feel like, I mean, definitely the safety, like surprised me, and sometimes it got me in trouble, cause like,
Mm,
be, so like, so like I'm from New Orleans, so like that's like one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. allegedly,
mm-hmm.
but when I go abroad, it's kind of like y'all don't really have no pum pums over here.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, I'm the threat. Everybody, so it's kind of like, you get sort of, everybody is so friendly to you, and they're not like, I think for me, like, no one made me feel like I didn't have an experience where someone made me feel like I didn't belong or I shouldn't have been somewhere. So
Same.
people just kind of ignore you. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I like being ignored.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
I
I love
love
that.
being ignored. Please
Yeah.
leave me
So
alone.
that's been our experience for majority of the places. Like the only place we got any attention was Albania, like they'll stare, but we already established on this channel a lot of times that they stare at each other too. So
Yeah, they do.
yeah, like they'll stare. I like after a while it kind of got annoying because we were recording. It's kind of uncomfortable to record when people staring at you. For us, for me. So it was sometimes when I wouldn't want to record because I just want to have one day where people are not staring at me as much. But outside of that, no, like people literally leave you alone. They don't even double take. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's literally like they don't even see you. They're like, okay, I
yeah.
guess.
It's like you can just walk around and be in your own bubble, and it's very
Yep,
peaceful.
it is. That's the word right there. Peaceful.
It's peaceful to not have to
Yeah,
um to deal with some things that
yeah.
bring up. But um so what we talked about food a little bit, but you didn't tell me about the worst food you've ever had while traveling.
Ooh,
Like like a place where you're like,
girl. Ooh, this could smash some corn. This could step on a couple people's toes, but I just could say it, y'all. And this will be shocking. So everybody, hold your pearls from now. We did not like the food in Vietnam.
oh,
Oop, oop. Maybe okay. I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's because we were in Ho Chi Minh City.
mm,
Maybe because, but even so, when I came back home, because one of my there's a Bahamian who also lived in Vietnam for a while, and I asked her. I was like, but she was in Da Nang. Is that how it's pronounced? Da Nang, Da Nang.
I don't know how to
She
say
was, yeah, she was in Da Nang. So I asked her like, is this just a Ho Chi Minh City thing? Because we were trying to figure out like, are we gonna go to other parts right now, or are we gonna like spend the block? But she was like, oh yeah, the food there was no bueno. And I was like, I was shocked because she is a big foodie and she's also a chef and she travels for food. So to know that she lived there for so long and the whole time she was cooking because she didn't like the food, like I really thought the food would have been so good. And everybody said the food is so good.
everybody says the food in Vietnam is good.
So maybe it's just because we were in Ho Chi Minh City. So I'll just say that.
I
I
just
can't
want to
really
say,
say
usually
it.
I say this earlier in the video, but I just want to say that the opinions expressed in this interview are not a reflection of the Awkward Black Nomad brand. I don't know. I've never been to Vietnam. So
Right. So like I say, maybe it's just Ho Chi Minh City. So I won't write them off like that. But I will also say Cambodia. But I feel like with Cambodia, it's expected because like after the regime and all of that, they even have documentaries saying how like Cambodian people don't really have native dishes because after the regime and all of that, they just basically were in survival mode and then they adopt dishes from like surrounding countries.
mm,
So, but when you are there, I heard Cambodian food in the States tastes good, but when you are in Cambodia, the food, right? I'm here now, I'm catching stress. But like I
I
say, it may just be Ho Chi Minh City. So y'all still go try it. It may just be Ho Chi Minh City. But yeah, Cambodia, more so when you go there, it tastes like they just eating for survival. Like
okay.
it's not really, it doesn't taste like they eating for enjoyment. So yeah, I feel like on our
To
first
have
two
a
trips,
sign that pops up on the screen that says like, Allegedly or something else.
Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. And maybe because we weren't in, maybe because we were in Siem Reap. So maybe in the capital it's different.
Mm.
But what we did was when we got there, like if we found two or three restaurants where we could deal with the food, then we just always go to those ones. But at some point, like by like our second or third visit, those restaurants were closed down. So we just were living off of like they have a lot of international food there. So we're living off of international food in Cambodia and in Vietnam. So like I say, may just be the parts that we were in. Who knows? Maybe the food may be amazing in other parts.
Allegedly, you need a do over.
Yeah, I probably need to do over. Please tell me where to go. Please tell me where to go because we were living off of ramen and what else were we eating? Ramen and Indian food in Vietnam. So maybe give us some places on where to go.
I mean, if the Vietnamese food is anything like it is in New Orleans, it's bussin'. Like it's
No,
delicious.
it's really good in the States and in Canada because we always eat Vietnamese food in the States and Canada. Always. And it's always good. So I don't know what it is. Like I don't know if we just went to the wrong places, but our friend is from Vietnam and he was there at the time and he was telling us the places to go to. So we'd ask him, okay, like what should we get? And he wouldn't tell us what to get. So we'd go to the place, not have a good experience, and he'll be like, oh, you're supposed to get this specific thing. I'm like, if I gotta do all of that,
Right. You
if I
gotta.
gotta do all of that, at least tell me exactly what I need to get. If this restaurant only have one thing that's good, you gotta tell me what the one thing is. So, like I say, maybe it's just our experience, but I'm willing to do a do over because it's pretty there. It's really pretty there and it's pretty affordable. So,
Do you have any travel plans for this year coming up?
oh, of course, of course. So we plan to leave probably what's it is probably in a month or so I'd say like mid February or early March is what we aiming for. And we want to go to Asia. However, we would like to do like a little European tour before the summer crowds, you know? So we said it'd be cute to do like a little European tour. We had Czech Republic, Croatia, Montenegro, basically that area in mind. And then when the summer crowds come, but I heard in that region it doesn't get as bad as like Western Europe gets in the
Yeah.
summer. So, oh,
Too many people for me. It's too
dang.
many.
So yeah, probably like when the summertime comes, then we'll head to Asia. We really want to go to South Korea. I really want to go to Hong Kong. I guess we'll spend a block on Vietnam with these recommendations everybody about to leave us
Well,
in the
don't make
comments.
yourself force. Don't feel forced to do it. Thanks,
Um,
Adrian. Hi.
hi.
I want to talk about your hair. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all could see it all the way, but Miss Mama's got locked. Like she has what the people call a mane. Okay.
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
you maintain your
I
hair?
have it braided up now because it's so hot today. So I couldn't take it out of the braid today. It's so hot.
What's the temperature in the Bahamas right now?
Right now it's like 80, but it feels so hot.
I'm jealous.
Let me see. I think it's the humidity today. What's it right now? Like it
It's
just felt
32 for me.
dang. Like right now it's 75. So not as bad, but today felt I thought I was tripping because it felt so hot and when I looked it said like it was 79. So I messaged Darren. I was like, so hot today. And he's like, it's hot as hell. So it's not just me then. It's not just me. It felt extremely hot today. But I think it's because of the humidity.
But how do you maintain your hair when you're traveling? Because I'm sure in a lot of those countries you can't find the same hair stuff that you're probably used to using at home.
No. Honestly, the thing that saves me the most is just finding any hydrating conditioner. Like once I could find a decent conditioner that says it's for moisture, like for moisture and hydration, then I can make do. Because sometimes the shampoo be knotting up your hair, you know,
Yeah.
but the conditioner been saving me. And I feel like when we leave, we always carry, and then Darian has locks, so he just needs shampoo, and it don't matter. Like he don't need his hair to be untangled, you know. So we always travel. We always leave with like travel size to fall back on, in case we end up in a country where we can't find conditioner to get the tangles out. So honestly, we haven't been having any issues. I'd say the most we deal with is like if it's hard water, but we have hard water here because we live on an island, so that's normal.
Do you bring there's like a portable filter that you can put on the shower head? Do you
I
have something
wish,
like that?
I wish, but I found with those they only work with certain showers.
Mm.
Like with the workaway we did in Romania, it came with one of those. But I'm like, when I think about all the different showers we encounter, some is like the waterfall style. Is that what's called? So
Yes.
I could see how that wouldn't work for most of the places we stay in. Yeah, but my
Listen,
mommy told me to use like drinking water, but I need so much water to shampoo my hair. I can't see how that would work for me. I have a lot of hair, so sometimes I may just have to use like half of the tube of conditioner if the water really hard, but that's what I got to do. And thankfully, the conditioner is only like $2, you know? Because, but yeah, don't expect to find any products for our hair over there. Your best bet is finding anything, let's say, hydrating when it comes to conditioner, and crossing your fingers with the shampoo.
did
But I'd
you
say like the first year, I carried a lot of the travel size shampoo and conditioner. But as I started to travel more, I don't know. I stopped doing that. I'm like, I'll just figure it out when I get there. And so far, so good. Japan was really good because their shampoo and conditioner naturally hydrating, you know? So the people who don't need hydrating conditioner have an issue there because the shampoo is so hydrating. So it makes their hair oily. But that's a good thing for us. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, Japan is on my list. I'm supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
planning a family trip. We'll see what happens with that. But
Mm-hmm.
list. So
Definitely.
you mentioned like you packed like travel size bottles of like shampoo and stuff. What
Mm-hmm.
does the luggage look like when you first left, and what does it look like now? Like, how do you pack? Because there's a reason why I'm asking that
we
question. But let me
when we
know.
first when we first left, we thought we were gonna be backpackers. Girl, when we put that bag on our back in the airport, we were throwing stuff away, honey.
Let me tell
I talk
you
about
that.
in the airport. In the airport, I was like, "Do I need this book? Gone. Do I need this journal? Gone." It was so heavy. My back was hurting so much. I don't know how people do it. And their bag way bigger than ours. Like we didn't even have the big, the big backpack that come over your head.
But that
We
looks
had
like
like,
body in it. Yeah.
yeah, we had the one that you don't need to check in, but that did not work out. The minute we got to Turkey, we got two carry-on bags, and we just kept them backpacks until we could bring them home. We never picked them up again.
No,
So,
but I get it because so like I always get judged because I like to check a bag. I guess because like, oh, you could lose your luggage, stuff like that. But listen, my back is delicate, okay? And then, some airports are huge. So it's like
yeah, exactly.
back you having to take your backpack across the airport. You're walking, lifting it. Oh my god, at the end of a travel day, your whole body is sore. By the end of the day, it feels
Yeah,
like
I can't
you
do it.
ran a marathon. It makes no sense.
So after that, we had one carry-on each. But a lot of the Asian airlines, I think their limit is like 15 pounds, but the bag alone weighed like 8 pounds empty. So that didn't work out. So now we travel with one checked luggage and one carry-on, one checked luggage and one carry-on.
I
We
mean, that's
figured it out.
modest. That's still very modest.
Yeah, yeah. But there was sometimes we were like, we have to check in the carry on anyway because some of the carry on limits so strict.
Travelmatic says you have him craving a cold junkanoo. Junkanoo. I don't know. Do you appreciate my take?
Travelmatic. Where you from, Travelmatic? What you know about Junkanoo?
I don't know nothing about.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're working with now. We have one check luggage and one carry on. But like I say, sometimes we have to end up checking in the carry on because depends on the airline.
Yeah.
Depends on it. I find a lot of Chinese airlines popping up, and they have like flights in between Southeast Asia, and they allow people to check luggages for free. So we got lucky a few times.
Ah.
Yeah. Yep. We got lucky even coming home on one of their airlines. I think it was Eva or something.
Mm.
I think they from Taiwan because we had to connect in Taipei. So two free check luggages. But yeah, this time around we'll keep the same setup. I can't see us ever doing just carry-ons anymore, mainly because of Asia. Like it just wouldn't work because we'll have to end up checking out two of our carry-on bags anyway. So
Because of
we
the
just bring like
weight
yeah
requirement.
the limit. So we find it's better to just bring a suitcase and like I say, we could have those just in case items like a backup conditioner or something. Yeah. But for the most part, we buy everything in the country we in, even like soap because we use Dove soap because I have sensitive skin. But we've been able to find that everywhere, Malaysia, Japan. So
I
we just
think
buy everything where we're going.
that's another thing like I was really surprised to learn. So like my initial checked bag, like when I first set off to leave the US, I brought I brought probably a year's worth of my hair stuff with me. I brought like soap. I brought like the toothpaste I like. But the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're not going to the moon, right? Like, it's like these are
Exactly.
products that are like global products. They're not like, these aren't things you only can get in the US or whatever. Like, wherever you go, you can find stuff. And that's like a lesson that I had to learn. Is there
Mm-hmm.
a lesson that you feel like you've learned through now long term traveling that like you didn't know in the very beginning?
That's definitely one for me. I'd say anything outside of like feminine hygiene products you could get anywhere, and mainly because the feminine hygiene products in other countries are different. Like if you find tampons in Europe, they won't have an applicator. You won't find tampons in most Asian countries, or the pads would be scented. Stuff like that.
Yes.
So I'd say like for women, if you need those products, bring some. If you're traveling long term, I don't know. I had to find a solution. Like I started using the cup mainly because no matter how much tampons or pads I thought I needed, it was never enough because I don't know how long I'll be gone for. So
Yes.
I had to find another solution. But if you know you're about to be gone for a certain amount of time, definitely bring as much tampons and pads as you need or whatever you use. But outside of that, you could generally find everything you need where you're going. Or if you have a specific hair product that you know makes your hair day a lot easier and way less stressful, then yeah, reserve some pounds in your bag for that. But outside of that, like you say, it's these global products. Like you could find, like I say, even Dove I could find. So, but let me see, anything else I learned? What was the question again?
What
Girl.
what's something you learned from long term traveling that you didn't know in the very beginning of your journey?
How much I'd be able to like figure it out in the moment. Kind of
Mm.
like what I was saying earlier. Like I thought I would always need, and then how I was raised too. Like have a plan A, have a plan B, have a plan C. But when you're on the road, you could have 10 plans and none of them work out. So you have to figure it out in the moment. Like anything could happen. You know what I mean? Like you could say, "Oh, I'll I'll book this Airbnb for 3 months, so I don't have to think about that. And then you get to the Airbnb, they have roaches. Now you still have to figure it out. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's been a blessing to find out that you could figure everything out in the moment. Once you have the right mindset and you tell yourself, like, I can figure this out, you're going to figure it out. You don't have to have everything planned. Like for peace of mind, you could probably say plan the first month or 2 months, but you'd be surprised. Also, how far in advance you need to have stuff booked. Like, as we've been doing this for so long, like,
Whatever do you mean?
right? Like in the beginning, we were like, okay, we need to book stuff like early. But we find like so much happens in between when you book and when it's time to leave sometimes that you may not even be going to that country no more. And that happened to us so many times. Like we'll think we're going somewhere next, and closer to the time, it could be a natural disaster that happened. Like these are real things. Like
Yeah.
for us in the Bahamas, we only have to deal with hurricanes. And for the most part, we know when a hurricane coming, so we'll be prepared. But imagine you going somewhere next and then you find out they had this big earthquake. So it's like to
Or
know that.
stressed. Like I know when I was planning to go to France, there was like a there were these like protests that broke out,
Hmm.
and I was like I had planned to stay in France for 3 months. Um and I was like I don't think I want to do I don't think I don't
Yeah,
know, like you don't know anything about what it looks like on ground. The pictures look crazy, so
exactly.
boom, that's like 3 months that just got taken off of my itinerary. I didn't know what to do.
Exactly. So I find like it's safer. It feels like it's safer to know ahead of time, but honestly, especially if you're doing it for extended period of time, it's safer to like I say, just get the first 1 to 2 months if you need that peace of mind. But you'll have to wait to see especially these days. Like my mommy said, I feel like something big used to happen every 5 years, but now look at how much stuff be happening in 1 year. Like these huge things be happening in the year.
Yeah.
So like these stuff will be in history books. And we'll have like five of them we experience in a year these days. So I feel like
So
now it's safe.
like this generation is just really scary.
honestly. So while it may feel like it's safer to have everything booked ahead of time, paid for, it's safer to do the opposite because when you have to leave, you have to leave.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to lose like 3 months worth of accommodation, then I don't know what to say. I ain't there yet. I ain't there yet. I don't have that to lose. So there are a lot of times when we book stuff like the week before. Yep.
Do
But
you wait, do you
okay, for example, right? In Malaysia, I think we have yet to get in our skulls that we only have 1 month in Malaysia. Because like I say, everywhere else we usually have 3 months. And then everyone have 3 months in Malaysia. But for some reason Bahamians have 1 month in Malaysia. So we'll be in Malaysia like trying to squeeze every day out of it. And then before you know it, like we need to be gone next week. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh. So a lot of times when it's time for us to leave Malaysia, we figuring that stuff out the week before. So last year, when it was time to leave Malaysia, we were looking like, okay, where should we go? Like, what tickets look good? What accommodation look good? And that's how we ended up in Japan, honestly. Because in that moment, and we've seen it while we've been in Japan, there's some weeks when accommodation would be $500 a week. And then the following week, that accommodation would be $200. Yeah. So it's like, it's crazy like that. The same accommodation. So when we were in Malaysia at the time, we were looking at Japan. Tokyo was too expensive, but then we saw like really affordable accommodations in Osaka. And we were like, okay, we could do this. Let's go for 2 weeks and see how it goes. And we definitely stayed the full 3 months. We definitely stayed the full 3 months. So yeah, we
I mean,
just leave room for flexibility because like Something that seems too expensive a month ago, you may look the week before and the prices change so much.
No, that's so true. Because
And that's what happened.
I think a lot of people think that like planning ahead, you'll get a better price. Like, oh, if I book this 3 months in advance, then I'm gonna get the best price. But I don't think
Yeah.
that's the case anymore because prices are so they're like fluctuating really quickly. I think especially because people are traveling more now than they
Hmm.
were previously, that
Exactly.
your best deal could be the week of like that you decide to leave. And like that seems
Exactly.
really scary when you're I think when you're traveling long term and you really need to like cuz your visa is coming is about to expire and you really need to get up out this country. I think that can be very scary for some people like having to figure out where to go next.
Yeah. And I feel like it's mainly because of Airbnb, how it works. Like when we were in Canada, we were Airbnb hosts. So we know kind of how it works in the back end. Airbnb, like let's say it's something big going on this week and hotels are booked out or hotel raised their rates. Airbnb would give you a notification as a host to let you know, hey, is this big thing going on? You could sell this property for double the price and still be sold out. And all you have to do is press accept. So a lot of Airbnb hosts doing that.
Oh,
Yeah. Or like they'll be like, oh, hey, hotels dropped their price this week. If you want to get bookings, you need to drop your price. So
mm,
that's kind of like why it fluctuates so much. Because Airbnb following the trends for them, letting them know when you could raise the rates, when you could reduce the rates.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
You see, so don't feel bad about trying to get don't feel bad about trying to nickel and dime people. Okay, get the lowest price.
Right. Right.
Care about your money.
So a lot of times you'll see a price and it's not even the real price. It's just like the price is double right now because something going on this week. When you check next week, it'll be back to the normal price. So if y'all, everyone who watching, if y'all like planning a trip and like you look at a place and it doesn't seem affordable, check again like in a week or 2 weeks because sometimes the prices may be completely different. And that's how it was for us with Japan. Like the prices seemed insane, and then around the time, it's because it was summer. That's what it is. It's because it was summer, and summer is like their slow season, but the prices changed drastically.
So then when would you recommend planning if you were traveling in the summer? When would you recommend looking for flights or accommodations?
If you go into Europe, specifically, specifically anywhere in Europe, I would say look ahead of time because when you see that summer crowd start to go, those tickets are ridiculous.
Insane.
The tickets are ridiculous. So mainly for the flights, I would say look ahead of time because last year when we left here, we went to Athens, Greece first. We were visiting our friends in DC, right? This week, let's say we bought our tickets the first week in January. Our tickets were $400 to go to Athens, Greece. The next week, the tickets were $1,400.
That's crazy.
So mainly any European country, I would say, especially for the summer travel, try to do it ahead of time because when people know they go into Europe for summer, like I talk about families and stuff, they trying to book their tickets from I'd say even Easter is late for them. Like they already know from the beginning of the year they booking flights and accommodations and stuff. So if you look now, even some of the places in the different European countries on Airbnb, you'd see some of them already booked for the summer. How far ahead? Like 6 months or less. For European travel, honestly, yeah, I feel like you would benefit booking your flights from like before the new year rolls in. If you're going in the summer, if
What
you're
about
going in the fall, not so much.
Asia?
Asia, I don't know if you'd benefit from booking ahead in Asia
Mm.
because in Asia, for example, a lot of places. Okay, like for example, every time you go on Airbnb in Japan, there are new accommodations like being added. It's so many people adding Airbnbs, like what you call it? It's so many people adding rooms and apartments on the app that I feel like you could book it at any time. Whereas in Europe, I feel like it's different because even some of the European countries, they block, like Greece, for example, you can't start a new Airbnb there. They blocked it. Yeah, they don't want any new. So what's there is there. But Japan, anywhere in Asia, I'd say, because they're constantly adding new apartments, you could book at any time. Like the places that you see when you get there, they probably weren't even available when you were booking months ahead.
That's
So Asia, honestly, anytime because you could always find somewhere to stay in Asia. It's so much availability. You know, like I find that places don't really get booked out except Japan. But everywhere else, I feel like you could always find somewhere.
And are you using any apps to see like the best prices for flights or accommodations?
Mainly Google Flights. I mainly use Google Flights, and then when it's time to buy, I'd go on Travelocity and then look some more.
Mm.
But outside of that, I find like all the other apps, it would say it's one price, but when you actually click to go to the website, it's not the real price. And that's frustrating because you could be in a place and you need to get a ticket and you could be looking for hours and none of these flights actually the price it says it is, or the flight don't exist at all. When you go to buy the ticket, it just isn't there. So for now, we've been using Google Flights and actually booking it on Travelocity or directly through the airline.
In dark mode, are you looking in dark mode?
No, because I feel like they caught on. They caught on to that.
Oh,
They caught on to that. Like before, when you could have just erase your cookies and, you know, I
hmm.
feel like they caught on. So I'd be like, let's say, for example, in Malaysia, right? And we just landed and we have an idea of where we'll be going to next. Back then, if I started looking for those tickets the first week, by the second week, magically those tickets would be more expensive. But now I feel like they realize we caught on, so those stuff don't really work no more. Shockingly.
A4 says traveling from the US is so expensive to practically anywhere. That's true.
Yeah. And we
That's
always have to travel through the US when we come to visit our family. So we usually always leave from Miami or Fort Lauderdale.
true. I want to
But
remind
now,
you to like the video. By the way,
yes,
I see how many people are in the room. Like the video. If you have a
yes.
question for Zanya, drop down in the comment section.
One thing I would say is I realize a lot of airlines have been popping up and adding new routes. And
Mm,
that's been good because now, for example, it used to be so inconvenient to get to Japan from like here or from like Miami. But now there's a direct flight from here to Seattle, which is so random. And it's a new flight too, because when we were coming back from Japan, the flight was just added. Like they just added that route from Seattle to here, I guess for the snowbirds. But yeah, so there's now a direct flight between Nassau and Seattle, and then there's a direct flight between Seattle and Tokyo, Seattle and South Korea. Like it's a lot of direct flights being added, and that drops the price a lot too. So hopefully this year travel will be a lot easier now that all these airlines adding routes based on where they feel is more popular. A lot of people going to Japan, so they have direct flights from New York, I think LA and Seattle,
yeah, that's
and it
what I
could be
heard.
more.
So
Yeah,
I heard what you should do is like if you live in a state in the South like I do, then fly into like an LA or like a Seattle. You'll probably get a much better priced flight that's direct going to Asia.
yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I try to find like which state has the cheapest flight to if we go on somewhere in Asia, if we go on somewhere in Europe, and then we try to find out okay how to get there.
Mm.
So we do it that way.
Travelmatic says I'm international. I know about everywhere and I can out dollar dance you.
Oh,
Ignore that man. Um so obviously I don't know because this is kind of different because I think because you travel with your husband and you're an
mhm.
introvert, but
Yeah.
do you? do any community building? Like, are you making friends while you're traveling abroad? Because you're staying in places long enough
Yeah.
to make
I
friends.
feel like I benefit from him being an extrovert because he's a social
He's an
butterfly.
extrovert. Okay.
Yeah. So like it makes it easier for me because he'll usually like make friends and then he'll be like, "Oh, we have plans to go eat with this person or whatever the case may be."
Wait,
But
he makes the plan and be like, "Yeah,
oh no no, no.
so we're going to dinner
Okay, like for
tonight."
example, he'll be like, when we went to Tulum, he'll be like, "Oh, I met this person when I was by the pool, and they want us to go to like eat together. Like it wouldn't be a set date, but he'll be like, okay, we talk about like going to eat together and blah blah blah, and then we'll like arrange to go eat with them.
I
But
hear about stuff like this, and I'm like,
hmm
extroverts really do live in a different world
they
because
do.
I don't think I've ever been somewhere. That's a lie. One time, and the other person was an extrovert, and it wasn't really a choice for me to go. It was kind of like I was taken away. But I feel like an extrovert always has a story about like, oh yeah, I was sitting somewhere by myself and I just met this group of
hmm
people and now we're going to the house for dinner. What?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but it's a whole different world for me, honestly. But the good thing is he knows how my introversion works. So he don't like you say he don't be making plans for us ahead of time because I just may not be feeling it that day, honestly. And it's like no shade to them people, but maybe I just tired or maybe I just don't feel like talking today.
Yeah.
So, but it's always like the option to, or we talk about probably gonna get something to eat while they here type thing. On they leaving on this date. So then I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe we could go like on Thursday or something like that. But I
Mm.
feel like if that wasn't the case, I would have met people in the coffee shop because I always in the coffee shops.
I know. I see all of your latte and coffee posts.
Yes, yes. I was in a coffee shop, so I feel like I would have been forced to do that on my own, you know.
Mm.
But he
Do
makes it easier for me.
do you use like do you use like social media to make friends? Like, do you reach out to people like, "Hey, I'm in that country. I see that you're in that country," or no?
I feel like because we do YouTube content, mainly because of that reason. Like if you know another travel YouTuber and you've been watching their stuff and they've been watching y'all stuff and you've been commenting in between and you see they somewhere that you're about to be in or they may be, like that, then you'll be like, oh hey, I'm about to be here at the same time as you. So I feel like a lot of the connections come that way, like through mainly Instagram, I would say.
Mm.
Because Instagram is more real time. Like usually on YouTube, someone may be posting their Japan content, but that may have been 2 or 3 countries ago.
Yeah.
But mainly on Instagram, they'll be like, "Oh, we heading to Japan. Anybody have any recommendations?" And then you'll be like, "Oh, okay, when y'all going? Because we're about to be there." But outside of that, let me see on social media. I
Or
don't
like
think my algorithm works that
Facebook
way.
communities, even like Facebook communities.
Oh yeah, I love the expat groups on Facebook, but it's mainly like people mainly want to go clubbing though. So I feel like that's different. You know what I mean? And expat communities, they mainly like, okay, a lot of them don't actually be expats. A lot of them would be on vacation, but because they looking to link up with people, they'd be like, okay, I have for 3 days. I want to go out this night. So it's different in those groups. But the people who like actually live there for the most part, they in their routine as well. They probably in the coffee shops in the day, and in Albania, the coffee shops turn into like a bar at night.
Yeah.
Same as Macedonia, but outside of that, I feel like in those groups people mainly want to turn up. You know,
But
I don't know what you experienced. Have you found like people just want to chill, or you feel like people looking for someone to go to the club with?
I mean, I don't go to the club, so
Exactly.
it never even gets that far. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think this is why it's so hard to make friends like when you're traveling abroad because
yeah,
it's so like people will be like, "Oh, I'm only here for a week or I'm only here for a weekend." And in a way you're kind of doing that too, but you're just there longer, right?
yeah.
So I don't know, like even locals sometimes maybe wouldn't want to form a real friendship because they're like, well, you're gonna leave anyway. It can be
Yeah,
kind of tricky.
it is. It
You know,
is for
when you
sure.
find your people, you just find your people, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Unless you find locals who are also introverts and who usually like keep in touch over social media as well, you know, then
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah, and I think like you have to you have to have you have to be friends with people who are okay with, like you said, keeping in touch over social media, because you never
Yeah.
know where you're going to be, and they also don't know where they're going to be.
And I feel like it's harder in places where people are used to seeing their friends often,
Yeah.
you know, because like if I'm here or I don't know how it is in the States, but we could be in the same city and probably not see each other as often. You know what I mean? Because we're busy with
That's
work and so much other
that's com-
stuff.
yeah, that's common in the US, at least that's my experience.
Exactly. But
But
for
it's like,
them, like, it's so different.
yeah, because I think, I don't know, I've thought about this a lot. So I think like in other cities, I feel like in other countries, cities are built differently. So it's like you're walking more and you're
Yeah.
interacting with people more. So like if your friend is in your neighborhood or in a neighborhood close to you, you might run into them
Yeah.
at the superstore, at the grocery store, right? You
Mm-hmm.
might, you know, you might be like, "Hey, I'm in your area. Come meet me for coffee." Like it's not that big of a deal. Whereas
Yeah.
like in the US, everything is so kind of spread out. People are in their different silos, and it's like
You have to schedule that.
you have to
Yeah. You got to schedule that.
schedule a
And
lot.
then a lot, another thing is like places have what we call third places. Like countries have third places. We don't have that. You know what I mean?
At all.
Like, you either have to go pay a lot of money to go get something to eat together, or I don't know, like we don't really have places to just chill and talk and probably get a coffee or probably get a drink, like how they have, like how Albania have the coffee shops that turn into bars or
People, but it's that's like a cultural thing too, because like Albanians will sit at the same table all day and
yeah,
probably like,
exactly.
and I mean they may have one coffee.
Yeah,
They're not being
yeah.
rushed to like get out of a place. Like everything is so, the pace of life is so much slower, and no
Hmm.
one's like rushing. So you
Their
can
work life balance though, their work life balance is way different. Like they have the time, you know what I mean? I feel like in our world we have to schedule it because it's just so busy. Like you're working, you got family to deal with, or you're just so tired from work you just want to go home. It's just so different. We aren't like outside chilling every day after work at a coffee shop.
no, I would die. I feel like I,
I
it's so, it's weird because like when I think about like the day I was having when I was abroad, like I would get up early, walk around and explore the city, and then I had to like work from like the evening, like 5 o'clock till midnight. I was wide
hmm.
awake. It was totally fine, but it was like I was having full days in Europe,
Yeah.
like full days and full nights in Europe. But
Hmm.
like here, listen, the second I log off, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
No one,
yeah. It's
no
so
one's going to
different.
see me. You
It's
are not going
so
to see me this
different.
week.
And when we first landed in Japan, I don't know how, I don't know why, but we were waking up like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Jet
Four
lag.
o'clock in the morning. And the sun would look like it's midday. The sun would be out. Yeah. So, and I talk about we'd be waking up 4 o'clock, we'd be chilling, we get something to eat. I'd work to the coffee shop for like most of the day. And then like afterwards we go get something to eat somewhere cute, walk around, go into the store. Like it's just so different.
Yeah.
Now, girl, I be waking up 12 o'clock.
Still tired.
Yeah, like don't want to work, do my work, feel tired afterwards. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's the energy of the place.
Yeah. It
I feel
might
like it's the
be.
energy of the place
It might be. I think like,
because everybody tired and like working so hard and don't have that free time. Versus if you're in a place where everyone have so much free time and work is not their life, The energy is just different.
Yeah.
You almost get a boost of energy. You could do so much more in those type of places and not get tired. And it's so shocking. So shocking. I'd be like, who am I? Who am I doing all this stuff in one day and not feeling tired as hell at the end of the day? You
But see,
know?
we talked about this like when I had Stephanie Perry on my channel like last week, and she said like
Yeah.
the version of you haven't met yet because you because you don't live abroad.
Yes. I love the live so much. I sent it to my mommy. My mommy watched it and she loved it too. Yeah. She said
So
she loved how Stephanie Perry was so direct, like I say, yeah, that's what you need to hear. Like sometimes it's just what you need to hear. But honestly, for real, I could definitely feel that I'm such a different person when I'm home.
mm,
And not just because I'm home, but just like how society is set up here, it's just so different. So it's easy to like become a product of your environment and fast, you
yeah,
know?
that's true.
Yes.
And it's harder to see outside of that environment when you're like in it.
Yeah,
Until
it
you have
is.
the exposure to know that like there's a different way of life. It's like when you get back there, it's like you get sucked back into the routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I know I gotta get out. I gotta get out here,
Yes.
man.
Yes. Yes. You could do it. You could do it.
So what is something that you've learned about yourself through your travels?
Um, how resourceful? Is that the right?
Sure.
Yeah, how resourceful I could be,
Mhm.
honestly. Because there'll be times when on paper it don't look like it's gonna work, and then they just work out. Like things just work out, and that's so strange to me. Because especially here, I feel like you gotta have a plan and stay on that path for that thing to work. Whereas there, it's like unlimited options and unlimited ways you could do this one thing and make this one thing happen. So I feel like that's the biggest shocker for me.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest lesson. Like I'd say 5 years in, I don't I don't really get stressed like that. Because now I know for a fact like I could figure it out. Everything is figure outable. That's how I feel when I on the road, like everything can be figured out and with not much notice. Like if I have to figure something out by tomorrow or by next week, I could do it. Yeah.
What what advice would you give someone maybe watching this right now who wants to travel,
hmm
who wants to maybe live abroad, wants to have your lifestyle? What advice would you give them?
I'd say that is mainly a mindset to know that you could do this. Because, like I say, you'd get caught up in the planning of it and not realize that when you're on the road, you don't need all of that, or you don't need to have all of that figured out. Like things fall into place. Because, like I say, there's so much different ways you could get to the same outcome when you actually in it. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised the way your brain turn on when you know you need to figure out where you sleeping next week. You'd be surprised the amount of
No,
options you
that part.
find. Like it's different. It's kind of like how with procrastination with me. When I procrastinate and I give myself just enough time, my brain is on it. As opposed to like if I try to do this, stretch this one thing out for so long, like all of a sudden now my brain don't want to work. It's the same with that. Like when you in it and it has to be done, you'd be surprised how efficient you become and how little time you waste on planning and just doing it. You know what I mean? So I'd say for one, accept that it's mainly the mindset that'll get you to where you need to get. And then two, I guess the biggest advice I would give is I feel like once you do it once, it's easier to do it again. When it comes to like, for some people, it's just like leaving the US as a whole, or like for Bahamians, I feel like for Bahamians is mainly going to somewhere that's not the US because we're so used to going to the US, like to now ask someone who's never been outside of the Bahamas or the US to go to Greece. That sounds crazy to them. But it's like once you try to like not overthink it and push yourself to do it once, then it's so much easier to do it again and again and again and learn as you go. But again, I feel like we really get caught up in that planning stage. We really get caught up in the planning stage, and we could easily talk ourselves out of doing it, or try to convince ourselves that we can't do it. When it's people with so much less doing it. Let me tell you, these people who you encounter when you start traveling, people don't be having no money and they be out here
Listen,
figuring it out,
I always say this. There is a poor white college student sleeping
juggling outside right
in the
now, juggling
hallway.
balls
Right.
to get some money to pay for their bus to go to the next city. Like they doing
Right.
it with
Might be daughter
nothing.
of a millionaire. Okay, but
Listen,
she is committed to doing it on her own.
yeah,
Okay.
like,
And they
and you don't
figure
even
it
have to
out.
do it. You don't have to do it the way I do it. Like for you, maybe you want to do it in hostels because you want to meet new people. You know what I mean? But honestly, it could be so affordable, and like let's not even talk about house sitting, like what Stephanie Perry talks about a lot. Like when you look into house sitting or like work away, it could be done. Like if you have a money issue or financial issue, not in terms of like you don't have the money to do it, but you probably don't have as much to do it lavishly. It's a way you could afford to do it if you really want to be out there. If you really just want to experience it, maybe stay in a hostel. If you don't want to stay in a hostel, probably try to do a work away and get a private room, or try to get house sitting. There's so much resources out there. It can happen. So I feel like once you get the mindset that I am gonna do this, and you look at, okay, this how much money I have and how could I make this money work, you'd be surprised what you find. Because
Yeah.
like I say, these people don't be having no money, and
And they
they
figure it
be
out.
I listen, I've seen people who they have just enough money to fly to this country. They may stay in a hostel, convince the hostel to work in the cafe or in the bar, and make just enough money for their next ticket to the next country. Like, there's a lot of people doing it that way. So I'm sure you could figure it out.
Don't do it that way. But if you have to,
No, no, no. I
but
wouldn't do it that way.
the biggest hang up that a lot of people, because you're speaking truth, the biggest hang up that a lot of people have is they think they can't afford it. They think it's going to be too expensive. But
Yeah.
it's like it'll be expensive if you're trying to go to a resort, right? If you're trying to
Hmm.
have like this luxe lavish experience, yeah, that's pricey. But like if you are smart with your money, if you live below your means, it's very doable.
Yeah. And also, if you feel like, for example, let's say you have 3 months off from work or something because you want to test this out. If you feel like your money isn't enough to do Europe, look into doing a more affordable region. Like look into doing Southeast Asia because you just need to prove to yourself that you could do it. And once you prove to yourself that you could do it, like the way your life will change. So if you could only afford to do Southeast Asia right now, but you really want to do Europe, do Southeast Asia and maybe just stay in the bigger cities to have that, like to feel more comfortable because you don't want to really be like deep in it. But you just have to prove to yourself once that you could do it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, this was amazing.
Yes, it was. I'm so happy.
I'm so happy
I'm
you
so happy.
decided. I'm so happy you came.
Yes,
I'm happy you
yes,
came. Welcome.
yes. Thank
Um,
you.
is there anything that you want to leave us with? Because that was amazing. I mean, I feel like we covered
Thank
everything.
you. Yeah,
I have put Zanya's YouTube channel in the comment section, also in the description of this video. If you have any follow-up questions or comments, drop them down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about
yeah,
this. If you want us to chat again, let me know. If there's somebody you want
yeah.
me to interview that I haven't interviewed yet, let me know. Put it in the comment section. Um, yeah, this was wonderful. Like the
It
video.
was.
Uh, that's all I got, y'all.
Yeah,
I never know how to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time. We're gonna get up
yes.
out of here, get off the line. I did not even intend to chat with you for so long, but I appreciate your time so much. Thank you so much for coming.
No
Um,
problem.
and thank you guys for watching. Peace
Thanks for
out. Stay
watching,
black.
y'all. Bye bye. Peace.
Bye.